1-800-449-8255. A Clark the Shark Show. Right here, July, 18th. My car insurance expired today. And I'm an Uber guy. And you know how hard it is to make money with Uber driver, for passengers, or Uber Eats, which is what I do, but I actually don't do it. It's my wife that does Uber because I've been deactivated, and I'm just the driver while she actually does Uber. And I'm checking Google News. Matt Rempe is going to this former hockey fighter guy to learn to fight better. This guy's 7'6" or 7'7". He's like really huge, and yet he loses fights. You should never lose a fight when you're like nearly 8 feet tall. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, this guy gets the shit beat out of him at 7'8" or 7'9" by guys that are like 6'2". So, dude, maybe fighting's not for you. He's going to this former NHLer fighter guy. Who is it? George LaRock? Learning some boxing. Maybe take up boxing instead of NHL bare fist fighting, because, like a guy like me, I'm only 5'6", Clark the Shark. I should never win a fight. And yet I've been in a lot of them and done pretty well. I'm like probably 70-30. The only time they beat me is like when they sucker punch me or something, or when I'm trying to fight a guy that's way bigger than me. Usually I'm not that stupid. I know how to choose them right here on the Clark the Shark Show. But this guy, Matt Rempe, I don't know, dude. I've seen this guy fight in the NHL, and the guy's only like 20 or something, and taking on guys who've been in the league for 8 years. So maybe he needs to go to this former fighter guy, LaRock, and learn to box or something. 1-800-449-8255. The Clark the Shark Show. The Who. They're on Google. This is probably self-bought pseudo news. Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey. This used to be one of my favorite bands. When they were a group long ago with Entwistle and Keith Moon, dude, they were good, interesting, more interesting than good. They were no Beatles in terms of songwriting, but then again, they had this thing like that the Beatles didn't even have with some of their songs. They were no Stones, and yet same thing. The Who can do things the Stones can't do. And in fact, they blew the Stones off the stage at that rock and roll circus thing that the Stones were throwing, but the Who showed up and they upstaged the Stones badly. And they're no Zeppelin, you guys. To compare them to the big three, and yet the Who can do Led Zeppelin like better than Zeppelin. I can't explain that. Everyone always says, oh, Jimmy Page is so great. He's so much better than Pete. But the reality is Pete ain't bad, you guys. Sometimes when he plays a lead, it's kind of sloppy, but his acoustic guitar and rhythm guitar is really good. And like his lead guitar is pretty darn good for how like not good he is or something. And then you put that together with all of the Who, Entwistle, Keith Moon. And, Keith Moon is no John Bonham. And yet John Bonham is no Keith Moon. It's just weird. But then, Lars Ulrich from the Stones, who also moonlights with the Ruddles. Both phases of him, they are no Keith Moon, you guys. Lars. Yeah, the Stones are not the Who, you guys, and Zeppelin is not the Who, and the Beatles are not the Who. Don't ask me how, but in some weird way, it's like the Who are the number one band of all time. Times, plural. But look at Pete. You know, he's this guy with a big nose. He doesn't look like a rock star at all. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. So people take away a lot of points from the Who based on looks. I mean, other than Daltrey, I mean, nobody in the band was particularly good looking. So it's not like Zeppelin or, you know. But the Who, all things considered, were pretty darn good, all things considered, with all due respect. They got something. I definitely put them in the top 5 bands. I'd throw the Kinks in there, you know, Ray and Dave Davies, but you know, in terms of the greatest bands, the Who are definitely there. And it's like they don't deserve to be or something, and then again they do, right here on the Clark the Shark Show. There's a cop standing in front of, like, I don't know, is that the Manson house? It looks like the Charles Manson house back in the day. I don't know. This computer here is broken, you guys. That was the Clark the Shark Show. And now this one just died because the government shut it off. The, what is it, like Whoop Connect? So I don't got that. So now I have two. I have a Verizon phone with like an Android, and then I have another Android. And one of them's True Connect, another government thing. I can see why people want to vote for, Obama and Biden and Clinton and, Al Gore and John Kerry and, Jimmy Carter and all that, because you get free government shit, guys and gals. It's great. 1-800-449-8255, the California Highway Patrol. CHP to conduct sobriety checkpoints. I like those, you guys. I like people to drive sober. There's a guy with a green Uber Eats. Of course, I know about that. Uber Eats info, Uber ride sharing. Don't do ride share, you guys. It's creepy. If you're going to do Uber, just do Uber Eats right here on the Clark the Shark Show. And there's solar panels. How do they buy this pseudo news on Google? Solar panels. The biggest waste of time in history. They don't save you money. They're this ugly thing on your roof, and you still get a big electrical bill. You can tell Elon Musk must have thought these up, because they don't do anything but look fucking ugly right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. And right here, oh, look, food. There goes Bia, my wife. She's making, she disappears when the camera gets on her, just like on the beach when you see one of those crabs go back in a hole really quick. That's her. She's not as photogenic as me, yours truly, Clark the Shark, right here on the Sharky Show. But here's Dirk McQuickley and Ron Nasty from the Ruddles. And it says, what does Ron Nasty say at the end of the Beatles' iconic song, Free as a Bird? I think he says, turn me on, dead man, or maybe cranberry sauce. Ron is like, I was just saying cranberry sauce. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show. Oh, dude, there's junk food. I love that. McDonald's. I'm an Uber Eats driver, so I love the $5 meal deal. I actually ate that, and it's not bad. You get filled up on junk food. You get 4 McNuggets and like a double and fries for $5. With tax, it's like 6. So yeah. Oh, dude. As an Uber Eats driver, yeah, you guys, I recommend this. The $5 meal deal at McDonald's. Um, it's not bad. Now here's a Soviet prison. Now I always wonder why the Russians put humans in prisons like this. This guy looks like a surfer that they busted who didn't do anything wrong. And then the Kremlin's little ghoulies, little cronies, if you will, arrested him for nothing and put him in a human cage. And there's a girl in there with him. They have a guy and a girl in a human cage in Russia. That shows you the extent of the humanitarianism of that country, Russia. Yeah, they put people in human cages. That's great. The Stanley Cup, Kachuk. Where'd it go? I don't like Matthew Kachuk as a human being. This whole thing, like competition, like who's the best at hockey. But I'm glad that like Connor McDavid lost that. So, you know, I'm kind of torn. There's a part of me that's like, well, when is this fucking guy ever gonna win a Stanley Cup? This McDavid and Draisaitl and these guys on the Oilers. When are they going to be like the old 80s Oilers? You know, Messier and Gretzky and Yari Curry and Grant Fuhrer and all those guys. And Kachuk's like, well, it ain't going to happen, baby, in 2024 on my watch because we just beat the Oilers. 1-800-449-8255 right here on the Clark the Shark Show. I don't know, you guys. You win a piece of metal. You know, it's for some reason it's 5% nickel. So already I don't trust the Stanley Cup. It couldn't be that good if it's made of silver and all these platinum. But then it's got nickel. So, you know, that's what they say about Clark the Shark, too. The Sharkraphone. It's solid gold, but then it's got some nickel in it, like the cup. So maybe it ain't all that great. Right here on the Sharky Shit Show. 1-800-449-8255. Kachuk wins a cup. The Oilers really choked, you guys. They were down 3-0, and then they won 3 straight games. And they didn't just win the 3 straight games. They, like, killed them. And they exposed the Florida Panthers for who they were. And as they showed the world who the Oilers really are. And they were down 0-3, and then suddenly the series was 3 games apiece, and it looked like Florida Panthers were going to choke. But then, you know, you just knew it all along. When it got to Game 7, good old Connor McGolis and his team choked. And, you know, it just turned into another one of those 2-1 games, you know, like a Daryl Sutter, LA Kings, boring, you know, defensive battle. Or goaltenders just stopping everything kind of game. And to see Connor McDavid lose felt good, but it also felt kind of weird because I was like, man, that would have been history. That would have been cool to see them come back and win, even though I hate them. Can't fucking stand McDavid, but I can't stand Kachuk even more. But whatever, dude. So let's review today. Kachuk wins the cup. You know, God's like, that's how life is, Sharky. You gotta fight and earn it, baby. The top people get there and then we all end up in a grave. But you could always look back and say, hey, you owned a house and a nice car and all this shit. And, you know, God's like, well, dude, if you do all that, you're not going to heaven, Sharky. So I'm like, well, I'm going to be poor, so I go to heaven when I die. And God's like, well, dude, I didn't mean it like that. And I'm like, I don't care what you meant, God. 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show. I'm going to be poor. I'm not going to be like Chuck and the Oilers and, make billions of dollars a year like McDavid. I'd rather be poor and drive for Uber Eats right here on the Clark the Shark Show. And who knows, I might even end up in a Russian human dog cage. Look at this. There's a girl in I love these little Russian prisons that they put them on TV, like, we'll do this to you. If you're bad, you'll end up like these Americans in a little human doghouse. What do they got a girl in there for? What did she do? Maybe they put her so this guy can have a good time. She's like a Russian officer, and they're leaving her in there with him so he's not lonely. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show. That's my theory anyway. The $5 McDonald's meal deal, you guys, I recommend it. Dirk McQuickley, Ron Nasty, the greatest songwriters of all time. Times, plural. I'd say the only Who album that can touch the Ruddles is Tommy. And that album is like incomplete or something. It needs overdubs and, it wasn't nearly as heavy as it should have been. So I take away points, you guys. And one thing you can say about the Ruddles, all their albums are complete. They have all the overdubs and George Martin and all that. Sometimes, like Let It Rot, they bring in Phil Spector and he put too much on there. That's what Dirk McQuickley says. That might or might not be true right here on the Clark the Shark Show. But yeah, the Ruddles, great band. I love their songs, except for when they let Lars Ulrich sing like, they're going to put me in the movies. I think if you could turn back the clock on the Ruddles and erase Lars Ulrich, and if they would have kept Pete Best, they would have been a better band. I'm serious, you guys. History would have been better, too. Every fucking song by Lars, like, I've been told when a boy kisses a girl, take a trip around the world. Hey, hey. I could do without Lars, I don't even like Octopus's Garden, but I like solar panels. They're ugly. They don't do anything. They don't save you money. And people who own these actually say they cost you money and they take away value from your house. The people who want to buy the house are like, get rid of the fucking solar panels and I might buy the house right here on the Clark the Shark Show. Uber Eats, that's what I do, but not on a bike like that guy. I have an actual car, but right now it doesn't have insurance on the Clark the Shark Show. And the Highway Patrol, if he catches me, he'll impound my car and put me in a human dog cage like the Russians. But he won't deport like, all the non-citizens driving who don't have insurance. It's okay if they drive, but not me, Clark the Shark. I'll get in big trouble if I do it. So I won't go do Uber tonight, you guys. I don't want to get arrested by this guy. He's at the Manson house back in 1969. And then there's The Who. The Two. Entwistle and Mooney are gone, and we just have these two schlucks. This guy looks like he should be a pool guy. He even dresses like one. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show. I respect The Who, or so, I don't know, like them. I bought all their albums, you guys, but lately the way they carry on, I don't like it. And then there's the fight camp for the NHL. If you want to learn to fight and be a goon and beat people up, go to George LaRocque. He'll teach you how right here on the Clark the Shark Show. This Matt Rempe guy needs fighting. I mean, I could probably beat this guy up, this Rempe. And he's 7'9". And dude, just feed him a few uppercuts and he's toast, bro. I mean, one guy just beat his ass and kicked the shit out of him. I forget the guy's name. I think on the Winnipeg Jets. So I could be wrong, or one of those guys just beat this guy down bad. And when you're 7'9", you should never lose a fight. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show. So I do recommend the George LaRock Goon School of Fighting. My thing's about to run out here, you guys. My data for this Clark the Shark video at 1-800-449-8255 right here on the Clark the Shark Show, you guys. So get your NHL on, learn to fight. Don't bother